Vikings never wore horned helmets. Not one. Not once. In over 300 years of raiding, trading, and burning coastal towns to the ground. The image in your head right now? It was invented, and the real story is stranger. Picture it. Horns. Wild eyes. A battle roar. That picture is fiction. No burial. No runed stone. No saga written by the Vikings themselves ever mentions horns on a helmet. Archaeologists have dug up thousands of Viking graves across Scandinavia. Weapons, combs, coins, jewelry. Not a single horned helmet among them. So what did Vikings actually wear on their heads? In 1943, at a farm called Gjermundbu in Norway, workers digging a barn foundation hit iron. Underneath was a Viking grave, and inside it, the only nearly complete Viking helmet ever found. It sits today in a museum in Oslo. Rounded iron plates, a guard shielding the eyes and nose, and nothing sticking out of the top. That's it. That's the whole design. Practical, cheap to forge, built to survive an axe blow, not to look pretty for the camera. So why not add horns anyway? Just for style? Because in a shield wall, packed shoulder to shoulder with strangers swinging axes, a horn is a handle. Grab it, twist, and a man's neck breaks before his sword even clears its sheath. Horns don't make you look fiercer in battle. They make you easier to kill. And here's the part most people never learn. Iron was expensive, brutally expensive. Most Vikings never owned a metal helmet at all. A chieftain, maybe. A wealthy raider, maybe. Everyone else wore leather, or wool, or nothing but their own hair. Imagine it. You're standing on a longship in the year 793, off the coast of Lindisfarne, England. Salt spray in your face. No horns catching the wind. Just a plain leather cap, maybe an iron nose guard if you're lucky, and an axe you sharpened yourself the night before. The monks on shore are about to meet you, and nothing about your helmet is going to warn them. So where did the horns actually come from? Not a battlefield, not a raid. An opera house in Germany in the year 1876. A costume designer named Emil Doepler was building outfits for Wagner's opera, The Ring of the Nibelung. He needed his singers to look like gods and monsters from Norse myth, larger than life, unforgettable from the back row. Historical accuracy wasn't the job. Spectacle was. So he bolted horns onto the helmets. Pure theater. Zero archaeology. A costume choice made for the cheap seats in a German opera house. And the myth spread faster than any historian could stop it. 19th century Europe was starving for a certain kind of ancestor. Fierce, romantic, mythic. The horned Viking fit that story perfectly. Painters used him. Novelists used him. Nobody thought to check a single grave. By the time anyone did, the image was already permanent. Then Hollywood found it. Then cartoons found it. Then a Minnesota football team put horns on their logo, and an entire nation grew up believing a myth born in an opera house. Within 100 years, the fake helmet became more famous than the real Vikings ever were. But here's the twist nobody expects. Horned helmets are real. Archaeologists have found them. Just not Viking. Not even close. They come from the Bronze Age, 1,000 years before the first Viking ship ever touched water. Found in Denmark, at Vexo, in 1942. Delicate. Ceremonial. Never meant for war. Meant for ritual, for priests, for gods. And somehow, history handed their horns to the wrong warriors entirely. So if Vikings never wore horned helmets, who invented the image? Not a historian, not a Viking, a costume designer. His name was Emil Doepler, a German costume designer working in 1876. He was hired to dress the cast of Richard Wagner's opera cycle, Der Ring der Nibelungen. Wagner wanted gods and warriors who looked mythic on stage, larger than any real Viking who ever lived. So Doepler gave them wings, fur, and horns. It was pure invention. A stage prop. Nothing archaeological about it at all. But the image spread fast. Victorian painters copied it. Newspaper illustrators copied it. By the early 1900s, children's schoolbooks across Europe and America showed Vikings charging into battle wearing horns, and nobody bothered checking a single grave, a single burial mound, or a single museum record. Not one burial in 1,000 years of Viking graves has ever produced a horned helmet. Not one. Ever. In 1943, on a farm called Gjermundbu, in Ringerike, Norway, workers digging in a field struck iron. What they found was the only complete Viking helmet ever recovered, a helmet from around the year 970. Rounded iron plates, a guard shaped like spectacles over the eyes, a reinforced nose piece, and absolutely nothing where horns should have been. Imagine wearing horns into a shield wall. Your enemy doesn't need a sword. He just grabs the horns and pulls, and your neck goes wherever his arm decides. That's not intimidation. That's a handle for your own death. Real Viking helmets were built to deflect blades, not to give your enemy something to hold on to. And yet, over a century later, the horns are still winning. Cartoons, football helmets, Halloween costumes, every October. The real Vikings never needed horns. They had iron, long ships, and a reputation that crossed oceans without any help from an opera stage. So next time you see that helmet, remember, you're not looking at history. You're looking at a costume. Subscribe if you want more history the myths tried to bury.